What's going on, you lot? Welcome back to another video. Today, well I should say tonight, we're going to go out and recreate one of the photos I took about a year and a half ago to teach you guys how to take better photos of your car at night and see if I progressed or learned anything new in that time frame. Let's go. So here we are at the location. The car's roughly parked up behind me where I'm going to take the shot. I think the three main things that people struggle with, or certainly what I struggled with when I first started out, is correctly exposing the image, as in the overall image and the car itself, whether it being underexposing for the headlights or the side lights, and trying to raise everything back up after the fact. And then bringing on to my second point, introducing more noise by doing that, because your camera might not have a very good dynamic range, so you struggle with noise. And lastly, getting tack sharp images, obviously because we're slowing the shutter speed down to get that exposure up to the correct level. You can often be a little bit shaky when you're handheld and not using a tripod. So I've got a few ways that you can combat all these and get really good, crispy, clean images at night. So this is the first one I'm going to show you. The camera's set up on the tripod, so we've got that stability and we're not afraid the camera's going to move and shake. So we can get that shutter speed down, we can dial in that focus using manual focus if you really want to. We're going to set a self timer so we're not going to inadvertently add shaking to the image. So what we're going to do is take 2 exposures of this shot, maybe 3 depending on how I'm feeling and how I want the photo to turn out. One is going to be of the car being correctly exposed, the second one is going to be exposing for the side lights, and then the third one is going to be exposing for the headlights if I want to do that. So I just got them shots. I took one of the car correctly exposed, I took one of the side lights correctly exposed, and by correctly exposed I mean considerably underexposed, between 1.5 and 2 underexposed, and the third was the headlights, same again with that being underexposed. So you may be thinking now, this is all well and good, Dalton, that you've got a tripod set up and you've got plenty of time to do this. I completely agree with you. As a run and gun photographer myself, I don't like being tied down to the same spot, and it really bugs me setting up a tripod every time you want to move your angle or move location. So what I'm going to show you now is a way that you can get the same results but handheld. To give yourself the best chance, you're going to have to use your fastest lens. I'm going to be switching over to my 50mm 1.8 to get this shot. So I've swapped over to the 50mm, and for this what we're going to do is correctly expose for the side lights. We're going to expose for that, and then we're going to do some fine tweaking after the fact in Lightroom that will help us keep the noise down and make sure that we get a really nice image. So I've just taken those handheld shots with a 50mm. I was shooting anywhere between 1 stop underexposed to about 1.5 underexposed at the maximum. I was shooting in burst mode. This is your friend when you're handheld, because a little bit of shake, you get one that nails focus and you can work with it from there. We're going to wrap things up here and I'll meet you guys back in the office and show you the editing that we're going to do in Photoshop and Lightroom. Before we get into editing these photos, I just need to come clean about something. I actually learned something while recording this video. I was tidying a few bits up for the final edit and I found a better way of how to do something, and I couldn't show you, so I'm making this part again. So here we go. We're quickly going to talk about the settings of each photo and the exposure levels. The first 3 photos are the ones on the tripod, I should say. So the first one was shot at 0.6 of a second, f2.8 ISO 400, as you can see, and this was correctly exposed at 0.0 on the exposure meter. The next one is of the side lights. This one was about 1.3 to 1.7 underexposed, if I can remember rightly. It's around that ballpark figure, and it was shot 1/8 of a second f2.8 ISO 400. Could have gone a little bit darker still, but I think it'll work for this photo. Then the headlights, one was 1/13 of a second at f2.8 at ISO 400. Again, that was about 1.3 to 1.7 underexposed. And then the last photo is of the handheld shot where I swapped to the 50mm, shot at 1/10 of a second at f1.8 ISO 400. We'll take the first 3 images over to Photoshop and mash them all together to create one image, and we'll compare the final edits side by side to see which ones we prefer and talk about the pros and cons of each. So when you've got your photos over to Photoshop, the first thing you want to do is get all your photos onto the same page, and then from there what you want to do is the background layer, you want to make it a layer from background so you can edit it. Then what we're going to do is blend all the photos together. Doing this, we need to change the blending mode, so we're going to change all the blending modes of each photo to screen. And now you're thinking, Dalton, what the hell are you doing? But wait. What we're going to do now is create a layer mask on each of these layers. Then we're going to brush out all the bits that we don't want, leaving us with the final image that we can take back across the Lightroom and edit from there. So for this photo, I don't really like the headlights, and I think the car looks meaner with the headlights off, but I kind of like how the headlights illuminate this part of the bush, giving it that extra little bit of pop, and it draws my eye into the photo. So what we're going to do is make sure we've got the black square on top, and we're just going to rub out the bits that we don't want. So we don't want the headlights. There's a bit of a light beam there that we don't want, that I've seen in the previous photo. Same with this headlight. And we're just going to do that to all the bits that we don't want. And you're looking at it now and you think it's kind of overexposed, so we'll go to the bottom layer, which is one that is the most overexposed. Click on the layer first before I start deleting stuff. And we're just going to rub that out. Obviously you're going to be a hell of a lot neater than me. And we'll get that moody background, and the car's still going to stand out because the car's correctly exposed now, and the headlights, or sorry, the side lights are correctly exposed as well, and nothing's blown out. I'll finish this up, save it, and meet you guys back into Lightroom, and we'll talk about how to edit the handheld shot. We're back in Lightroom with a handheld shot. For this shot, we're going to try and avoid using the sliders as much as we can. I know that seems kind of counterintuitive, but I'll show you why. Obviously, when you use a normal slider, it affects the whole image, and we don't want that. Because we've exposed for the brightest part of the image, the side lights in our case, we want to leave that part of the image alone and edit everything else around it. So I banged on it about it before, about using the brush tool, and this is the best thing to do when you're editing car photos at night and you've exposed for the headlights and such. So now we can choose a part of the image that we want to edit and just manipulate that part of the image. So all we're going to do is brush around the bits that we want to tweak them, leave the headlights and the side lights or whatever alone, and that's it. And that's the big secret, and that's how you get really nice looking images from underexposed shots. One thing I didn't mention when we was out filming, you need to be shooting RAW. Shooting RAW will give you a hell of a lot more dynamic range because you've got a hell of a lot more information to edit from. If you're shooting JPEG, your photos are going to break down a hell of a lot sooner than you are if you're shooting RAW. So RAW really helps as well. And all the camera basics like staying still while you're shooting, obviously especially handheld. I'll quickly finish up the edit on these two photos, and then we can whack them side by side and compare them. So we've arrived at the final form for both of these images. I'll show you the 50mm 1.8 handheld shot first. I'll quickly show you the before and after. So that was before and that's after. As you can see, all I really did was make the car stand out and take it out of the shadows and take a lot of the shadows out of the car itself. And that was my main goal really. Like the edit in the location didn't really warrant a heavy edit, and I wouldn't want to do that with this kind of photo anyway, because the more you edit your photo, the more the things start to break down, and this is not a massive edit really. And if we start to zoom in, there is a little bit of noise and that start to appear in the shadows and a little bit on the bonnet and stuff, but for Instagram and stuff it's completely manageable and it's completely acceptable. I'd use this for clients that are going to post stuff to Instagram, maybe to Facebook or stuff like that. This is completely fine. You can get tons and tons of shots really quickly, and the post-processing power and time is quite a little bit less than the free photos where you have to put them all together. I'll show you that one now. Take a look what that one looks like, before and after. So that was before, that's after. So as you can see, the overall image looks a lot cleaner. There's a hell of a lot less noise, and the photo almost looks as if there was artificial light placed on the car at strategic points, which effectively that's what we did by taking multiple exposures and smashing them all together in Photoshop. I'll just bring this up big. Yeah, I think that one came out really clean. Like I say, there's less noise, which was always going to be the case. Obviously it was on a tripod. We put 3 photos together rather than just trying to manipulate one. The cons about this one, obviously it takes a little bit of fine tweaking in Photoshop first of all, and then it takes a little bit of fine tweaking obviously in Lightroom, same as the handheld shot, but it takes a lot more time to set up, take your 3 photos, make sure they're all in focus, and then you've got to do that for every single angle and location that you want to use and get to. This way is a lot more long-winded, but the benefits do show themselves. If we printed these photos side by side, they'd be night and day. On the screen obviously it's a little bit hard to see. I'd use this type of style for higher end clients, people that are potentially going to print the photos, use them for advertising, those kind of things, because the image is going to be a lot cleaner and be able to handle being stretched out and made a lot bigger. But that pretty much covers everything, guys. Hopefully I've taught you something new. I've learned something new editing these photos, which is always nice because we're always learning. If you could, smash that like button, and if you want to support this channel and see more videos like this, hit that subscribe button. But with all that being said and done, stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll see you lot in the next one. Bye.